Hey everybody, welcome. John Soriano here, day 5 and the final day of our 5-part series on keys to mind optimization. And we've covered a lot of ground in the last few days. We've learned about EFT. We've learned, gone through a hypnosis session. We've learned about beliefs. We've learned quite a bit in terms of other kinds of internal drivers. Today is going to be where this all kind of comes together, okay? And this is, to me, this is one of the most powerful frames and paradigms, hi Veroni, that I've ever come across. I use it all the time in my own self-work. I use it all the time in work with clients. It's a very succinct framework that really explains why we do what we do, okay? Ever since I was a teenager, that's been my drive, whether it's been studying meditation, studying philosophy, studying psychology, self-help books, all of that stuff. It's always been down to wanting to know why people do what they do. Okay, what is the difference that makes the difference? Why are some people so successful and other people are not doing the same things? Okay, you look at them and activity-wise, they're doing the same stuff. Actually, I should, just before I go on, Veroni, you hear me, right? I want to make sure my sound is on. We're not playing that game again. Just type in that you could hear me, Veroni. Okay, cool. All right. Just want a little gun shy now. Just want to make sure I don't go through half a program and realize it's on mute like I did the other day. Okay, so now while this session here is going to be, hey Lynn, while this session here is going to be a little shorter than the others, it's going to be probably one of the most powerful ones. And I just want to pull something up on my computer here right quick. 1 second here. Thought I pulled this out already. And while I'm doing that, okay, so excellent. All right. So I'm going to share with you why people act the way they act, why they do what they do, why they don't do what they don't do, what they should be doing, I should say. And the key is this chart, this graph right here, okay? And now you also get to see how bad my handwriting is. Now you notice at the top, we have identity. Beliefs and values are next under. Capability is under that. Behavior is under that. And environment is under that. Now if you notice the arrows on the sides, this is indicating that this influences from the top down, okay? So identity influences beliefs, which influences capability, which influences behavior in whatever environment you're in, okay? That is the key to the kingdom. When I'm working with clients, the 2 levels that I shoot for as quickly as possible are these 2, identity and beliefs and values. If I can make major shifts and changes there, everything else falls in. So if we take that concept and we say, okay, well, it influences from the top down, but what does that mean? So what? Okay. So buttons. No. So what? All right. So let's say I'm working with somebody who is wanting to be a successful salesman. They want to do $100,000 this year in sales. Okay. But they just can't get themselves to move to do what they need to do. They're not making the calls, whatever. Okay. Now, somebody would look at that and say, okay, well, they have maybe a fear of failure. They're afraid to fail, or they're sometimes afraid of success. They're afraid to succeed, depending what success might mean to them. So they look at it that way. But it goes deeper than that. It goes much deeper than that. What it goes to is, what is his identity? What is his I am statement in relation to his goal? So I am not a super successful person, if that's his identity, if that's where his thermostat is set, that is going to dictate what he believes. So let's run this through as the example, okay? I am not a super successful person. That's my identity in this scenario, okay? So then my beliefs is, this sales stuff is really pretty tough work. I shut off now half of my capabilities at least, all right? I'm accessing very little of my capabilities. So my behavior becomes I start avoiding the calls and doing what I need to do in the environment of sales. Does that make sense? So if I really want to make a shift, a major shift for this client and do it in the shortest amount of time, what do I have to move? I have to move their identity level. It has to switch that out. I have to collapse that identity that I am not a super successful person and switch it with something else. Now, that sounds easy, but it's not. In practice, that actually does take a while. Now, when I say a while, that's relative speak, okay? It's not going to take years, maybe not even months, maybe just a few weeks, okay, depending how you go about it. The challenge of identity work, though, is no one wants to give an identity up, all right? So you have to be real careful how you go about doing that, and you have to have something else in place. It's almost as if you're going to do this little thing like, okay, here's the old identity. I want to bring the new one up. I want to kind of slide that under, right, and then take this away so there's something there. So I don't leave them hanging out. This is something I saw a lot when working with students. They would take a capability issue. They would take a capability issue, right, which is third down, right? They're having a hard time in a math class or something, right? Whatever. And after a while, they just bump that right up to identity level. And I am stupid all of a sudden. Okay. Now, once it gets there, it's harder to shake. It's much harder to shake. But that's where the changes need to occur. Now, you could sneak up on it, right, and go to beliefs and values first. Okay. But the key to the kingdom. Hey, George. Hey, Jesse. The key to the kingdom, okay, in major shifts, elegantly, quickly as possible. Okay, I'm not going to say snap and you're done, but relatively quickly. And permanent change, okay, is to change things at the identity level. You must change your I am statements. That is why we do what we do, because it is in alignment with our identity regarding a certain thing. We have two kinds of self-images, really. We have the overarching meta self-image, which is all-encompassing over everything. Then we have self-images and self-esteems and what have you in relation to specific areas, okay? So for example, I can have a high self-esteem in the field of coaching, right? Which I kind of do, as we can tell, right? But I don't have one in math. And I know math and me are not friends, right? So I have two different self-images, two different thermostat settings to a degree, okay? So why, if you're looking to change a behavior, okay, like if you're coaching somebody or you're working on yourself and you want to get yourself to do something, I procrastinate. Okay. Why are you procrastinating? You know, ultimately, it's because of something further up the chain. Okay. Your belief about it or your value of it. Maybe it's not important. You know, maybe it's not something you really want to move heaven and earth to do. All you have to do is just chunk it up the value ladder, and all of a sudden you'll get yourself to start moving. Okay, that may or may not be an identity issue, but the key takeaway here is if you want to affect and change your behavior, okay, You must change the identity and belief levels. You must. That is the only way to do this long term. Okay? And we see it all the time. We see, okay, look at, for example, look at the prison population, okay? The corrections programs in the country, okay? We are changing your environment, aren't we? We're putting you in prison, right? Where is that on the ladder? Okay? Not only that, but we actually reinforce a negative identity, don't we? You're a criminal, right? I am a criminal. Where is that? That's all the way at the top. So that unless the correction system really starts working on things that matter, okay? Punishment, of course, has its place, and it has to happen. It has to, you do incur punishment when you do certain things. I get it. But at the end of the day, the reason you have revolving door prison systems where everyone comes out and goes in, comes out and goes in, is because nothing is happening where it counts, which is at the identity and belief levels. If it's not changing there, it's not going to long term. Okay. When I work with smokers, for example, I have to get right up there and get their identity shifting right off the bat. And I do. I start pre-framing almost from when we first start talking about their new identity as a non-smoker. When I take them into hypnosis and I'm talking directly to their subconscious mind, I am planting a new identity into the subconscious mind, okay? I'm suggesting that. Now, of course, they want to be a non-smoker, otherwise they wouldn't have come to me 99% of the time. And the 1% of the time is because wifey has nagged them to come and to quit smoking, or husband has nagged them to quit smoking. So that's a whole other deal. But the majority of the people want us to quit. That's why they came to me in the first place. Okay? So I go right to that level. And I start to change their beliefs about cigarettes while I'm talking to them in trance. All right? That's why it works so quick. That's why I could get people to quit in one session. Okay? 2 with the outside most of the time. Right? But it was with any work. When I did academic performance, the same thing. If a student thinks I am dumb, I could throw all the tutoring of the world at them. It's not going to stick long term. It cannot, because of the way the structure works. Okay, so think of something that you've been working on, okay, for months, years. Erica, hey, long time no see. Think of something you've been working on for years, months, that hasn't really shifted, that you see this constant going over and over again. And I will bet you money that if you really explore it, you're going to realize there's an identity issue there, or there's a belief and value issue there. Okay, now, that's the good news, believe it or not, is that you know now why things happen. Why are people doing what they do? Because that's their identity to do it. That is the secret sauce. That is the key to the kingdom. People do what their identity says they're going to do. They will act the way their identity says they are. Okay, so if somebody thinks they're a loser, they're going to believe things that will affect their capability, that will affect their behavior in that particular environment. That's how it goes. So it's a very simple, in a way, it's a very simple concept. Okay, now here's the caveat though. Identity work is very, very difficult to do on yourself. Extremely difficult. And the reason is because you can't get into a meta state above that, really, on your own, to be able to go from the outside in and look. That's why if you really need to work at identity or belief levels, identity especially, you really need to work with a coach. You really need to work with somebody that can see from the outside in. Okay? Beliefs and values you can work on. Absolutely. Capabilities. Now, capability, there's two kind of aspects to capability. One is your ability to actually do something, right? Which in turn then means the second meaning is maybe you don't have the capability to do something you want to do. Okay? Because sometimes it could be just as easy as capability fix, right? If I want to, I want to be a home repair guy, right? But I don't know how to use a saw. Well, that's a capability problem, really. It's not a belief problem. It's not an identity problem. It's a capability problem, right? So sometimes you just can't do it because you don't have the skill set to do it, right? So then you have to identify what skill set are you missing and just add what you need to add, right? Behavior is the I think the level that has the best PR person, right? It's always about behavior. No matter what it is, you're trying to change behavior. I overeat, that's a behavior. I smoke, that's a behavior. I get angry at people, that's a behavior. Okay, it's always about the behavior. So you're always looking for the behavior, right? But that is, again, looking at the chart, that is way, there we go. There we go. That's pretty far down the food chain, right? So if I go to change your behavior directly and do nothing else, will that stick long term? I don't know. It depends what your identity is. All right. So I've had clients I've worked with for weight loss, for example, right? Now, back in the day when I first started, and I was seeing people in person before I moved everything over to Skype, I would muscle test. Okay. In the early days, some of us were still muscle testing. And what a muscle test is, I'd ask you, hold your arm out. I'd ask you a question and, I'd do that. Then I'd ask a definitely false question again and that kind of thing. So I'd ask someone, I want to lose weight, boom, and so on. That's how you muscle test, right? So a good majority of the clients that I work with came in saying, I want to lose weight. Okay. But then I would muscle test them. And their muscle test showed weak for wanting to lose weight. So I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm kind of blunt. And I always turn to them and say, you want to lose weight? Yeah. No, you don't. And they look at me like, well, yes, I do. No, you really don't. Your unconscious really doesn't. So now we need to find out why. What is the payoff there? Okay. And I guarantee you, it's going to be in beliefs and values or the identity. Okay. And sure enough, 10 out of 10 times, that's where it was. Because there was a belief there. There was a value to being overweight. There was a payoff at those levels. Okay. So those are the drivers. Okay. Those are the drivers that make us do what we do and keep us from doing what we want to do. So the identity level, think of that as the thermostat of mind. Whatever you have it set at is what's going to be. All right. And we all know how a thermostat works. I set the room for 72 degrees. If it gets to 80, it starts kicking the AC on. Boom, lowers it down. Now it gets to be like 68, 69. Oh, it's too cold. Turn the AC off till it comes back up and you have this going. This up and down, does that look familiar to some of you? Do you know somebody like that? That their life is up and down and up and down? Maybe you know someone like that personally. That's why it's going up and down. Because your thermostat is set at a certain identity, at a certain level. So what do you need to do? You need to change the setting. You need to change the identity. Okay? So that is called the NLP neurological ladder. Okay? That is the key to the kingdom. That is where all long-term change will take place. Is it the identity and belief levels? And you could explore that. I mean, I could talk about this for hours and give example after example, which I'm not going to do. because we're about done. But just suffice it to say, that is the key to the kingdom. Okay? Lasting change is at the identity level, belief level. Now, if you start thinking to yourself about things you want to change and you start coming out with a bunch of I am statements, that's an identity issue. Okay? I would definitely recommend to work with somebody to work on that kind of stuff. Identity level tasks is not an easy thing to do by yourself. Okay, you just can't really get there by yourself. Beliefs and values, yes. Even though it'd really be good to work with a coach there to get you through that too. But identity, definitely. You definitely need to work with somebody for that. So that is the NLP neurological levels. That is the secret sauce. That is the key to effective change in your life long term. Okay? And you learned it in 20 minutes. So now you take that concept and you play with it. Okay? And see what you can do. What if you're looking to change behavior, kind of think, okay, well, first of all, do I have the ability to change it? Let's look at the capability levels. Let's go up the line. Do I have the ability to change it? Yes or no? Right? Do I have the skills to do what I want to do? Yes. Okay. What do I believe about this? What do I value in relation to this? And then look for your I am statements. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody? Does anybody have any questions on that? You could type them in. I'll wait a second while I pull up something. If you have a question, just type it on in while I pull up something here. And I posted this yesterday, and I'll post it again today. Oh, thanks, Lynn. I'm glad you found it helpful. Appreciate that. This is the link. Woo, almost made that same mistake again, too. All right, this is the link to my contact page on my website. So join me by signing up on that contact form. Those who are on my email list will get the special stuff that I come out with that will be only for members of my email list. I don't sell the list. I don't give it to anybody. I don't share it with anybody. But I'll be doing a series of videos that will only be available by link to my email members. I give discounts sometimes, like now, for example, those of you who have been in these lives for the last 5 days, if you want to email me about working with me, we can talk, and there will be a significant discount for those who want to work with me and who have been on the live. So if you do go to there and you want to email me so I can have your email, also let me know that you want to talk about possibly working together, and we can talk about that as well. I do have a couple of slots open at the moment. So any other questions or comments? No? Well, it's been a blast for the last 5 days. I've really enjoyed sharing all these key concepts with you. I hope you found them useful. I hope you start putting them to work right away. If you have any questions, find me on Facebook. If I'm not a friend on Facebook already, friend request me. The more the merrier. It's kind of like an Italian wedding. There's always room for one more. If you want to get news about things I do, especially only for my email subscribers, definitely use that link I just provided and become a member. And with that, I will bid you adieu. Thanks for joining me for the last 5 days. It was fun, and I will see you on the flip side.